This is Killer Innovations, a show about ideas, creativity, and how you can innovate. Welcome to the Innovator's Garage, where you learn to create your next game-changing killer innovation.
Welcome to Killer Innovations. I'm your host, Phil McKinney. We are live this week in the studio. I'm here in Northern Colorado, as we are each and every week on Sundays. We are live on Sundays. We are also rebroadcast on BizTalk Radio on Saturday mornings. You can check out the entire show schedule over at killerinnovations.com. As you know, this show is about innovation, creativity, and design. We invite guests to come on who are doing something different, something that is not in the normal just mode of operation for the day-to-day. And we want to use these times really as inspiration to get all of us to kind of take that moment, step back, think about it for a second, and maybe try a different path, go about it in a different way. Today is one of those shows. We have a guest which actually got referred to Killer Innovations from Kim McNicholas, who's been on the show many times as a co-host with me. And if you're not following Kim, check out her social media, and you can listen to her episodes on the Killer Innovation Show in the past. But Kim hosted this guest on her radio show in Silicon Valley actually this week. And Kim reached out to me right away and said, you got to have this kid on your show. And I'm like, okay, if Kim recommends it, we're going to put it on the show. So today's guest is Nick Titus. Nick is the CEO and co-founder of Myonic Technologies. Now, Myonic has created a wearable device for use with people who are paralyzed to really regain control of the muscles. Now, what's really unique, though, is Nick is still in high school, So from that standpoint, for all of us who've been sitting on the sidelines, with that great idea and not actually getting it started, guess what? The younger kids are eating our lunch here. So this is our opportunity to actually, what I call reverse mentor. Somebody who's in there, who's really scratching it out, and also is as an encouragement for all of us. So, hey, Nick, thanks a lot for joining the show today. I really appreciate you taking the time today.
Yeah, of course, Phil.
Yeah. So, Nick, give us a little bit of background. You're, a senior in high school right now?
Yeah, I'm 16. I started, my first day of senior year was Friday. So, yeah.
So hold it. So your first day of your senior year in high school, you're on Kim McNicholas's radio show in Silicon Valley.
Yeah. I stepped out of class and did the interview on her show.
Yeah. So you're a senior in high school. You're obviously doing quite well. Let's talk a little bit about, let's wind it back a little bit. If I recall correctly, the work that you did that ultimately led to this company, Myonic, started really as a science fair project. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I've always been interested in science, and over the past couple of years, I've become pretty interested in neurology and anatomy. And my sophomore year of high school, I did an independent study on neurological engineering, where I took a bunch of online anatomy courses and learned all this stuff about motor neuron diseases. And then going into my junior year, I took this class called Design Tech, where you basically build a prototype of something and bring it to fruition and write a paper on it. And so that's where I had the idea for an external spinal cord. And then that over a couple months came together and went to the science fair with it. Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you, so why was this whole neurobiology thing so important for you? Is it just something that just kind of sparked your interest, or is there some personal connection?
It was more just a spark of interest. I love engineering and stuff, but the machine side of things doesn't interest me as much, but biology is really what gets me going. So learning about human machines has kind of sparked my interest in this whole thing.
So in this case, then you took this design class in your junior year. You went off to create this in a science fair. What was the problem you were really solving, in the science fair? Was it what actually ultimately ended the product, or was there some iteration? What was the thing that you did for the science fair?
Yeah, so the problem that I was tackling was allowing paralyzed people to regain control of their muscles, which is still the same problem that we're tackling. So I put together this prototype with made out of an Arduino and a TENS unit that I bought from Walgreens. And at the science fair, I did demonstrations on the judges. They let me hook them up, and I'd say a voice command like up, and it would close their hand or bend their arm.
And it would actually do that then?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Because I mean, I've seen TENS units in the past. A lot of people use them for back pain. Desensitizing if you've got severe spinal issues or whatever. TENS units can be very, very helpful for pain reduction or pain elimination in some cases. So you reprogrammed the TENS unit using an Arduino to actually then cause it to contract. I'm guessing you were contracting muscles then to have it do certain actions.
Yeah, so in a therapeutic TENS unit, usually it's operating on a different frequency, but if you lower the frequency down a whole bunch and then you raise the pulse width, it won't soothe those muscles, but it'll actually contract them. So you can move individual fingers, you can bend your whole arm, you can hold a cup, you can get some pretty strong contractions out of it.
Wow, that is so. So you're telling me the judges let you hook themselves up to it?
Yeah. They put a little bit of faith in me. There were some who were a little hesitant, and I demonstrated on myself, but there were some people who just wanted to try it out, and I was able to show them how it worked.
So this was your junior year in high school then?
Yeah, this was last February, or this February, I guess. Yeah.
So okay, February this because you just graduated. Now you're starting your senior year.
Yeah.
And so I got to ask the question: Did you win the science fair?
Nope. Came in third place in the regional science fair.
Really?
Yeah. It was. I got beat out by some more traditional projects. They weren't baking soda and vinegar volcanoes, but they were more data analysis type projects. Right. I was coming from the engineering side of things, and I guess there were some holes in the scientific method. But so after that, really, I got third place. First and second moved on to state, but I had to go back to school, and I had basically a couple months left of school, and I had already done my project, so I didn't have much to do. So then I just had the idea of, well, why don't I start a company? I've made this cool technology that can help people, and really found a vessel to get that in the hands of those people.
So when did you start the company then? Was that while you were still in school, your junior year, summertime?
Yeah. So it was in March of 2016. I started the company, and when I started the company, then I really didn't have any idea what I was doing. I just got one of my friends to throw together a logo for me. I came up with the idea Myonic, and I said, "Hey, I'll start a company. I made this cool thing, and I can make it for cheap, and then I can sell it." Really not knowing the whole entrepreneurial side of things.
Well, it's actually quite funny because I'm sitting here right before we go live. Nick stands up, reaches over. He's got to have the black hoodie, so everyone's got to do the Zuckerberg thing. But he's actually wearing the hoodie because I can see the logo and the name Myonic in the video. So he's obviously getting the marketing handle down here on promoting the company and promoting the business. So are your how involved are your parents in the business?
Yeah. So my parents are definitely supportive of me pursuing this, and of my other team members pursuing this. We're not riding any coattails per se. My dad works replacing auto glass, and my other co-founders, their parents are teachers and consultants. We're not coming from a bioengineering background, really.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now we're going to dig into this a little bit more when we come back. So stay right where you're at. We're going to take this quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to pick up our conversation with Nick Titus, the CEO, co-founder of Myonic, high school senior here in Colorado, who has developed an interesting technology, particularly addressing the needs of those that are paralyzed. But he's got a unique model also that we're going to talk about with regards to what they're doing with their technology and taking it forward. So stay right there. You're listening to Killer Innovations on the BizTalk Radio Network, and we'll be right back after this short commercial break.
BizTalkRadio.com.
This is Killer Innovations, a show about ideas, creativity, and how you can innovate. Welcome to the Innovator's Garage, where you learn to create your next game-changing killer innovation.
Welcome back to Killer Innovations. I'm your host, Phil McKinney. This is a show about innovation, creativity, and design. Our special guest today is Nick Titus, as the CEO and co-founder of Myonic Technologies. Myonic has developed a wearable device that allows the paralyzed to regain control of their muscles. Nick is 16 and is a senior in high school. So for all of you innovators out there who are kind of laying around with lots of ideas in your idea notebook, you better get up off the couch, because it's kids like Nick who are gonna come after us and eat our lunch. So, Nick, once again, thanks for joining. Let's pick it up where we left off. We got into a little bit of it in the first segment, talking about the technology itself. So let's expand upon that. So you were able to demonstrate kind of the basic precept with an Adreno hooked up to a TIMS unit. You modify the TIMS unit and actually able to use controls to actually cause the muscles to actually do functions of whatever they needed to do. And you demonstrated this at the science fair. Well, what was next? What did you do to take that kind of raw early prototype and turn it into something?
Yeah. So we have built a more advanced voice command system on top of that. So that early prototype kind of used commands like up and down and that sort of stuff. But now we can draw from a much greater table of commands so that somebody can really get those specific movements down.
And so in this case, with the voice control, is that trained specifically to the user? Or what's on the person? What are they carrying with them? Is it something on their belt? What's the wearable look like?
Yeah, so it's a small device that can be strapped around the arm. That's kind of what we're thinking for the wearable right now. And it has a cable that comes out from that, and that is connected to the electrodes. So, and then the electrodes can be placed really on any muscle group of the body. Our device focuses on contracting the muscles in the arm, because we see that could bring about the most practical uses for somebody who's paralyzed like this.
And so in this case, this device then communicates to what do you call them? The pads from the TIMS unit. Yeah. It's on the muscle groups. And then based on the voice command, then it actually then causes whatever muscles are appropriate. So in the case of voice commands, right? We've all seen it now with Siri and all the other voice command technologies that are out there. How's that working out? Is that turning out to be a good, reliable interface? Have you thought about other interfaces?
Yeah. So the voice command, we're still working kinks out with. There are upsides and downsides to that sort of command interface, especially for people who are paralyzed, because there's a big portion of that demographic who are stroke survivors. A lot of people after they have a stroke won't be able to move one of their arms, and that's kind of a perfect use for our device. But along with that stroke, many people aren't able to fully speak in the way that they used to. And we took that into account when designing the device. We can really use as many inputs as we want. We have these modular input systems. So voice command is one of them. We're developing a system that would allow somebody to use a button system. So if it's someone who can still wiggle their toes, for example, they could use that motion to control their arm. And then kind of the exciting one that we're developing right now is a brain control interface. So the user will wear a headset, and that will allow them to control their muscles with their facial gestures and with their thoughts.
Oh, wow. So you're using some kind of an EEG kind of a head device. Yeah. Well, we can talk offline on that one. I have a little bit of experience on that background. So where are you at in the product development cycle?
Yeah, so our first prototype was a really good proof of concept. Now we're bringing that to a much more manufacturable state. We've moved it over to an ARM platform so that it can be embedded in manufacturable microcontrollers, and really getting the product much smaller and bringing it to a point where it can be manufactured.
And what kind of timeline do you think that's going to fall into from where you're at today to having, something ready to go?
Yeah, so as we see it right now, it should be about 6 to 9 months to really bring what we have now to a fully manufacturable point.
Is there any regulatory requirement? Have you looked into, what the Food and Drug Administration would require? Would this get classified as a medical device?
Yeah. So that's something that we've kind of been grappling with. So if we went a very traditional medical device route, it could be up to like 5 to 10 years of clinical trials to get what we're doing out there, and that really stifles the innovation on our part. What we're considering is, as long as we don't make medical claims and we can prove that our device isn't dangerous, because this technology has been around for decades, and you don't need a prescription, you can go to a drugstore and pick up a TENS unit. And our device is just that, but a lot smarter and for more practical uses. So we believe that as long as we don't make any serious medical claims, we can kind of fit our device under that umbrella, or potentially sell it as a recreational device in which we wouldn't have to even pass through the FDA.
Yeah, I think it's what's called a Class 3 device. So you don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to do the. You don't actually. It's not really a medical device. You can self validate that it doesn't cause harm, and again, you don't say it doesn't cure a medical condition.
Yeah.
But that's the one issue you always have to look out for, right? Is this issue of getting the government involved and having to go through an FDA approval process can take quite some time. And so at this point, you did a working product, you've moved it over to ARM, and now you're looking at really this commercialization piece on that. Now, one of the things I do know is that you actually went through an accelerator program over here at Boomtown, and we've had Toby, who's the executive director of Boomtown's been on the show. So if you're not familiar with Boomtown as an accelerator, you can go back and listen to that archive show. But when we come back, I want you to talk specifically about that experience as a 16-year-old going into a traditional high-tech accelerator here in Boulder with Boomtown, and what that experience was like, and what did you learn from that whole process of that. So we're going to come right back after this quick commercial break. If you're listening to us live on Facebook, drop us a question and we'll answer those here live in the show. And stay tuned. We're going to be right back. You're listening to Killer Innovations on the BizTalk Radio Network.
BizTalkRadio.com.
This is Killer Innovations, a show about ideas, creativity, and how you can innovate. Welcome to the Innovators Garage, where you learn to create your next game-changing killer innovation.
Welcome back to Killer Innovations. I'm your host, Phil McKinney, a show about creativity, innovation, and design. Today's guest we have is Nick Titus, is the CEO and co-founder of Myonic Technologies. Myonic has created a wearable device that allows paralyzed users to regain control of their muscles. In the first two segments, we cover a little bit of the background, both of Nick as the CEO and co-founder, but also more about the technologies. Again, the surprising thing, I shouldn't say surprising thing, I guess I should have higher expectations of our youth today. But I think one of the fact that I have so much confidence in our future in the innovation game are students like Nick. He's 16, he's a senior in high school, but he's also started this company as a result of his science fair project, of which I'm shocked you only won third place. But now has started this company to take what started off as the science fair project and turn it into a real product that's being offered. But what's also surprising is this Nick has just wrapped up. I don't know if you just wrapped up or if you're still in it. The participation in the Boomtown Accelerator. So Boomtown is a very well-known accelerator around the country. It's headquartered here in Boulder. Toby and the team have been on this show before. We've actually interviewed other companies from Boomtown. But Nick is a graduate or soon-to-be graduate of the Boomtown Accelerator, helping him take, again, what started off as a high school science fair project and turn it into a real company with a real product. So, Nick, talk a little bit about how you even got involved in Boomtown.
Yeah. So we just graduated Boomtown about a week ago. We had our demo day, and that went really well. Got a standing ovation at the Boulder Theater. But yeah, how we really came into it. When I started this company back in March or April, I just basically Googled, what do you do when you start a startup? And through that, found F-Success. And on F-Success, the website for startups, I applied to their fall accelerator program. And I filled out about half the application. And then I went on and did some homework and didn't really think about it much. About a week or two later, I got an email that from the director of the health tech program, basically saying, hey, we had a last minute company dropout, their visas got denied, we should talk. We talked on the phone. They said it was probably too late, but I pitched them my idea and they wanted us to come into the program. We have been involved with it, really nailing down our business strategy, figuring out our identity as a company, all that sort of stuff beyond the product for the past 3 months. So yeah.
So you come in with kind of the basic idea.
Yeah.
How big is your company? Is it you, or do you have a team now, or what's the?
Yeah. So we have a team of 4 co-founders we're all wearing the hats of every role in the company, and we're all under 18. We're all 16 and 17-year-olds. Yeah.
And so you and your co-founders go through Boomtown. Did you know anything about accelerators before you got involved with Boomtown?
Not much. I didn't really know what an accelerator was. I didn't know what it entailed. We were the youngest entrepreneurs to ever go through the Boomtown system. So it was kind of a new experience on both ends. But they're really hands-on, and we've been able to come a long ways through the program and really figure out some stuff with this.
So in this case, you have an interesting answer when you go back to school and people say, what did you do for your summer vacation?
Yeah.
You basically spent your summer vacation locked up in Boomtown working on it. So what were some of the things that you learned through the Boomtown experience?
Well, we learned that a startup and a company is much, much more than just the product. Obviously, like we had the working prototype coming in, but really figuring out how we're going to bring what we're doing to the market has been a big part of it. And figuring out how to create a pitch and work in all the different elements of our business and think about all those things that we hadn't before.
So in this case, did you, when you made the pitch, was the objective to raise money or what?
Yeah, so our pitch, we didn't have, so there were two pitches. One was to a group of investors and one was to the public, neither of which we had a specific ask. We're not raising a round right now, but we are looking for strategic partners who are knowledgeable in the space and are interested in what we're doing.
Okay, so, and then when you look at your market, with Boomtown, I know what the process is at Boomtown, right?
Yeah.
So you're out there. One of your objectives is to really kind of size the market. How big of a problem are you trying to solve? And how would you describe the market that you're going after then, post now coming on the other side of Boomtown? How do you describe that?
Yeah, so I think we have so the market, there's 6 million Americans who are paralyzed right now, and there are millions more who have different neurological diseases that this device could help them further. We have really looked at our market in a different way than I think most medical devices have. We've been able to build our device for $80, which means that we can set our price point way lower than most medical devices in this space. And I think that really gives us a competitive edge. It means that we can sell directly to our consumer. We don't have to go through the bureaucracies of insurance and traditional medical distribution to really get in the hands of people and start helping them. So I think that greatly expands our market and makes our technology not only the solution, but the actual product and the device very competitive.
And what's the first use case? If you had to think about the perfect first segment of customers who are going to use your solution, what is it and what do they do with your device?
Yeah, so I have kind of an example of that. The day after I gave my pitch, I connected with somebody who had reached out to me after reading an article about what we were doing. This person knew somebody who had a stroke. She had a stroke about 10 years ago, and she recovered fairly well. She now does amazing artwork and some amazing paintings that we were fortunate enough to see, but she has lost the ability to control her right arm. She can't move any of those muscles. And so we went and worked hands-on with her with our device, and she was able to move her fingers and move her thumb up for the first time in years, all under the power of her own muscles.
And what was her reaction when she saw that happen?
It was pretty cool to be there and see that. Her face lit up. She is very excited to work with us moving forward with all the new stuff that's going to be coming up with our technology. It was pretty moving to see somebody who hadn't had that ability regain it for the first time, and even if it was in a small way.
Yeah, I think what you guys are doing is just absolutely amazing. So at this point, you've got a product. You mentioned before that you're looking at you've got a timeline to really turn that into a finished product. Yeah. Here's my question for you. You are a senior in high school. What are you doing next June when you graduate? What are your plans?
Our team and myself are very committed towards what we're doing. Our goal is to be in a place in a year where we can keep pursuing this. If college has to wait a little bit for that process, it'll still be there. But getting the opportunity to run a company and be able to help people like we are isn't something that we may have down the road. So really, our goal is to get to a place where we can keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah, that's always the tough call, right? Whether you go to college or not go to college. But I think what you guys are doing here, what your team is doing here, is incredibly interesting. And Nick, I originally asked you just to be on for the first 3 segments, but if you've got time on your schedule, I want you to stay for the 4th segment because I want to talk a little bit more about what's the future for Myonic. What's next? You're at you've done the demo day. You're now past that. What are the plans for Myonic? What's plans for the technologies? Where does that go? And then also I'm going to ask you to share one advice that you would give to a high school kid who's interested in doing something, starting or inventing something. So stay right there. We'll be right back after this short commercial break. You're listening to Killer Innovations on the BizTalk Radio Network.
BizTalkRadio.com.
This is Killer Innovations, a show about ideas, creativity, and how you can innovate. Welcome to the Innovator's Garage, where you learn to create your next game-changing killer innovation.
Welcome back to Killer Innovations. I'm your host, Phil McKinney. We are a show about creativity, innovation, and design. Before we jump back into the show, I need to thank our sponsor today. Sponsor for today's show is TopTal. Now, why TopTal? Why? 12 years of me doing the show, starting off as the podcast and now as a nationally syndicated radio show. I've never had a sponsor. TopTal is the first and only sponsor I've had so far. And why TopTal? Well, the number one question I get from listeners is they've got this really great idea but have no idea how to actually turn that idea into a working product. Whether that's a website design or actually writing and building a prototype, or designing the logo. How do you pull all that together? Well, that's where TopTal comes in. TopTal is a group that you can reach out to that got the absolute top technical and design talent. They're different than the traditional outsourcing guys where you would just simply post your project online and then people bid on doing the work. The difference being is of all the people who apply to be part of TopTal, they say 3% on their website, but it actually turns out to be less than 1.5% of those that apply ever get accepted. So it's absolutely the best technical talent and design talent you can get your hands on. And a lot of companies use them. TopTal is used by Pfizer and JP Morgan, being large multinationals, all the way down to Airbnb and Zendesk use TopTal for their engineering team. And what's interesting is a number of the incubator accelerator companies are using TopTal as their engineering teams for translating and building those products. So TopTal's made a special offer for listeners of Killer Innovations. You can go over to toptal.com/Phil, take a look at it, start a project. If after 2 weeks you don't think TopTal's absolutely killing it, you get your money back. Plus, you get to keep all the deliverables. So hop on over, toptal.com/Phil, or better yet, you can drop me an email at phil@killerinnovations.com. I'll make a personal introduction to Nelson and the team at TopTal, and I'll make sure you get the absolute VIP treatment. So let's get back into the show. So Nick, we've been talking about this whole experience of you starting this in your junior year. You're now in your senior year. You're at this point now with Myonic. You're coming out of the Boomtown Accelerator. What's next?
Yeah. So we've we have a team that's ready to tackle this go-to-market strategy that we've developed while we've been a part of this accelerator. But our technology works today, and we could start helping people today. And that's why we've decided to make our technology open source. So this weekend, actually, we're releasing the schematics and instructions so that anybody can build our technology and start to tinker with it and give us some feedback on how to create a better product, and more importantly, so we can start helping people as soon as possible. That's kind of one of our big goals. And really past that, the next 6 months, we're going to be developing the technology further with those modular inputs that I talked about. So a button system and then brain control to allow someone to control their muscles with just their thoughts. And then going to market with what we have. And I think a big part of what we're doing is that we're able to do it for such an affordable price, which gives us the possibility to expand to outside the U.S. markets, to places where they maybe don't have health insurance, but they can still purchase the device.
So you're open sourcing all the work you've done. Now you're open sourcing it. What kind of an open source model are you using? Is this like a share alike? So if someone enhances it, it gets shared, across the community?
Mm-hmm. Yes. It's if somebody makes an improvement on it, they can share it back with us, and then it kind of improves on itself. And that's released under a non-commercial license, so that that nobody's selling it yet, just to keep it.
Right, but somebody, researchers at universities, for instance, could take the work that you've done and then actually start trying it out and seeing what they could do to improve it also. Those kinds of things. That's actually brilliant. Given that you're 4 people, you can now marshal an army of a lot more people who are passionate and interested in the same area. Not only that, I love the idea of getting out there and impacting people's lives sooner, rather than waiting for you to get through the whole development cycle and making it and having that benefit for people. If people want to find out about that specific thing on the open source, where can they go find that information?
Yeah, so if you're interested in anything involving what Myonic is doing and you want to stay up to date or you want to reach out with us, you can go to myonic.tech. That's our website, myonic.tech, MYONIC.TECH. And there you can find my email to reach out to me if you have any specific questions and learn more about our company and our team and the technology of what we've created.
That's great. And by the way, I'll have all of the links in the show notes when we get back. Really quick, before we have to end the show here, what's the one piece of advice you would give to a high school student who's got an idea and not sure what to do with it?
If you've come up with some great idea and you're passionate about what you're doing, what I would say is don't be afraid to pursue it, because everyone else who you see, who may be around you or you see in the news, who's out there having success, they're just people. Everything out there it's just built by people, and you're one of those. You're just another person. And if you really put your mind to what you're doing and you make good decisions and just go at it with your whole heart, you can make something happen like we have done.
Nick, that's absolutely great advice, and it's not just advice for students either. It's for all of us, right? It's pretty easy to sit back and just see and watch everybody else's success. The difference between a good idea and a great idea is really the execution. It's getting out and doing something with it. Otherwise, it's just an idea in a notebook. Hey, Nick, thanks a lot. I really appreciate you coming on to the show today. For the listeners here today, we'll have all the show notes up over at killerinnovations.com. You can look for all of Nick's contacts and the information about Myonic. As we wrap up this show, the one favor I would ask is hop on over to iTunes, give us a rating. It helps. I read all of those ratings. I greatly appreciate that. It helps get the word out about the show. And again, that also is greatly appreciated. We will be back here next week live with a very special guest. You can go over to the killerinnovations.com site. You can see on the right-hand side the list of upcoming guests, and you can check out who will be here next week. But that'll be a very special guest. So stay right there. We're going to be right back. And next week, you'll listen to Kill Innovations on the BizTalk Radio Network.
The opinions you hear on BizTalk Radio are those of the hosts, callers, and guests, and do not necessarily reflect those of this station, BizTalk Radio, its management, or advertisers. The information on BizTalk Radio does not constitute a recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or service. If you have any questions about BizTalk Radio, contact us at 817-274-1609 or at biztalkradio.com. biztalkradio.com.
Autism, 1 out of every 68 children in America are impacted across every race, ethnicity, and socioeconomic group. If you aren't directly affected, someone you know is. Today's world doesn't support those on the autism spectrum. It needs hacking for us to truly welcome those who think and create differently than ourselves. We're Hacking Autism, a nonprofit charity with a mission to hack therapy, technologies, and career opportunities that improve the personal and professional lives of people on the autism spectrum. We believe that everyone can play a role in supporting those on the autism spectrum so that they can show their unique talents and abilities in this fast-paced world. You aren't powerless in this fight. Use your gifts and talents to make a positive impact. Join us in making a difference. Go to hackingautism.org to learn more.
Carpenters have their hammers and saws, chefs have their outfitted kitchens, and musicians have their instruments. A craftsman's ability to do their job is dependent on having the right tools. So where does an innovator, someone who takes an idea and makes it real, find the right tools to do their job? Outfit your innovator's garage by visiting innovation.tools. Innovation.tools is an online store created by innovators for innovators. It's where you will find tested and proven tools to help you create that next great product or service. These tools include books, audio training, video training, brainstorming how-tos, and much, much more. And for a limited time, listeners of Killer Innovations will get 25% off on your first order by using the discount code RADIO at checkout. And 100% of our profits from your purchases will be donated to charity. So go to innovation.tools and create that next great innovation.
Rwanda is a shining example of how the global community can come together and rebuild a country after a devastating genocide. But there is still more that needs to be done. In the rural villages, students are crowded into schools with no electricity, no running water, no internet access, and limited sanitation. Will these kids be ready to continue the rebuilding of Rwanda, or will they be dependent upon others? Through education and employment, boys and girls have an equally promising future that can transform their struggling communities. For $20 a month, a child can be educated and a community strengthened. By supporting Pioneer Education Africa, a 501c3 charity, you partner with others to provide education that will prepare a generation to take on the task of self-reliance. 100% of the proceeds received go directly to the education of the children. Visit pioneereducationafrica.com to find out more.